Good to go. Okay, I want to welcome our television audience. Any guest members, our interpreter, we're happy to see. To the monthly meeting of the Mayor's Commission for Citizens with Disabilities um, um, for the city of Omaha. Sorry, I'm getting off to a slow start here. I do want to remind you that our meetings are going to be rebroadcast at 7 p.m. on Tuesdays on, is it, I believe it's channel 22, is it not? Yeah, it's not channel 18, channel 22 of Cox. The video of the meeting can also be viewed at the Disability Commission website at www.cityofomaha, all one word, .org. Click on the mayor's office and then click on the Disability Commission chair. It's my understanding as well that this meeting is broadcast on the city's YouTube channel. I have to, we had a pre-meeting. We do not have a quorum for today, so we are working without an official agenda or minutes, but I wanted to share a little bit about the Mayor's Commission before we moved on and talk about our topic for today. Um, the Mayor's Commission for Citizens with Disabilities is objective is to promote the quality of life, accessibility, and equity in all aspects related to the City of Omaha on behalf of and in cooperation with the citizens of our city who experience disabilities. And to this end, the Commission advises the Mayor, the City Council, department heads, and other City of Omaha personnel on issues of access, representation, employment, housing, and other issues regarding quality of life that affect city citizens with disabilities and their families. We serve as a resource for Omaha citizens with disabilities and their families to bring their concerns forward and attempt to resolve issues that affect them in a negative way. We work to publicize to the citizens the role of the Commission and the resources available to assist them. We do the same not only for persons with disabilities, but also employers, housing representatives, business owners, engineers and architects, and others who have a role in bettering the lives of all Omaha citizens. We work to promote awareness to the general public on the capabilities, needs, and desires of people with disabilities. We publicly recognize the efforts of employers, businesses, schools, and organizations, and others who have demonstrated outstanding supportive programs and services for people with disabilities. We serve as an advocate for accessibility and implement plans and projects to improve services for people with disabilities. And we review and implement plans and projects in the process of advocating for individuals with disabilities in the city of Omaha. As I say again, we're still, working within the confines of COVID, so our meeting is basically pretty virtual. But we do have a good share of our membership online, and some of them will have either presentations to make or will be asking questions and et cetera. So I should also note that in our previous meeting, we had a planning meeting. We planned presentations for the year, which we've immediately had to amend, but that's not different from our normal operating procedures. Next month, I believe we're going to have Public Works. Please nod your head on the video. I appreciate that very much. To talk about some issues that came in front of the Commission over the last several months on sidewalk accessibility in the city. I do want to remind you that we'll have a chance to make announcements at the end of the meeting, so have a paper and pencil handy to, a pen and paper handy to take notes. Um, and I would like to take an opportunity to let before we get started with our presentations, for the members that are with us online to introduce themselves.
Thank you for that, Mark. My name's Rachel, and and I currently work as a service coordinator with individuals with developmental disabilities. And I live with a spinal cord injury and also have experience working with folks with spinal cord injuries and brain injuries. So I'm here to represent the needs of those populations.
Thank you, Rach.
And I'm Nancy Floral, and I work with the Nebraska Commission for the Blind and Visually Impaired, and we're the vocational rehabilitation agency that serves individuals that are visually impaired, blind, and deafblind.
Thanks, Nancy.
And I'm Laura Young with the League of Human Dignity, and we work with individuals to help them remain independent in their homes, and also are the service coordination for AD waiver.
Thanks, Laura. I'm
Stephanie Scabdahl. I work at Outlook, Nebraska. We provide enrichment opportunities and employment for those who are blind and visually impaired. I'm here representing those.
Very good.
I'm Megan Walls with Disabilities. I do consulting and training around inclusion and accessibility and assistive technology. I work across the lifespan and across disability categories. So I'm here representing the greater disability population.
Thanks, Megan. And I probably failed to introduce myself when we started. My name is Mark Smith. I serve as chair of the commission. Megan serves as our vice chair, and Jen Pollock, who was unable to be here, is our secretary. And I work at the Monroe Meyer Institute at the University of Nebraska Medical Center, and am here not only representing my place of business, where we work primarily with individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities, but I'm also a parent, have a young adult son with an intellectual disability, and so representing the lived experience of disability issues and our citizens. Thank you, everybody. We have a couple of, I believe we have at least a couple of folks who are attending today. Did you want to introduce yourself?
Who?
And while I was talking about Emily and Melanie are on.
Okay.
Sure, I can introduce myself. My name is Emily Costello, and I am a trainee with the USID at MMI, and I am a sibling to a person with a disability.
Thanks, Em.
Hi, I'm Melanie Davis, and I am a trainee at the Monroe Meyer Institute in the USED program, University Center for Excellence in Developmental Disability, and I'm also a person with a disability.
Thanks, Mel. Melanie and Emily bring a lot of experience in terms of their personal lives and in terms of what they're learning to our discourse, so we're happy to have them. I also want to welcome Jay, who's here to interpret for us. Thank you. And at this point, again, I noted that we don't have formal meetings. We do have a schedule for the year of presentations. I don't know if it goes through the entire year, but I think we got most of the year covered. It would be my goal that we try and get that up on the website as an unofficial document. It's not minutes per se, since again we're dealing with COVID issues and working remotely, which on one level I'm quite grateful that we're able to continue to represent the needs of individuals with disabilities here to the city, despite the fact that there's so much, everyone is having to distance. Irrespective, I'd like to get that up so that in the future, you would be able to go onto the mayor's city website on the cityofomaha.org and see some of the things that we have coming up in terms of presentations. But first we have to amend the current one, and then that'll be available for folks. And let's see, like I say, if we should have time at the end for announcements, so I want to make you aware of that one more time. And at this point, I'd like to ask Laura Young to fill us in a little bit. Laura stepped up in a recent discussion we had regarding vaccinations and persons with disabilities in the city. There were a lot of questions, as I'm sure everyone's aware, of the distribution of vaccines within the last couple of months. I think things are starting to become more clear, but Laura volunteered to sit in with a weekly work group that is looking at that within the city and county. So an update from Laura.
Thank you all, and thank you for the opportunity. It's been interesting and enlightening for me. I want to say I think the group is very cognizant of making sure they're dealing with people with special needs, which was refreshing to see. One of the examples, especially for the older group that they've now pretty much worked themselves through, they had plenty of wheelchairs available, and they had people going outside to people's vehicles and assessing their needs. And if it was too difficult for them to get in and out of their cars, they were bringing their shots to them in their vehicles. So I was really impressed with that. I think it's going well. I don't know if Gerald has an update, but the last I knew, they were still looking for a spot in North Omaha to try to bring the vaccine there. They've got several clinics, several of the major hospitals are working with them in the clinics. And it sounds like those clinics, things are running very smoothly. There was one kind of funny little glitch that happened on Friday. And because I was part of this, I was able to get it taken care of. But here at the league, we had a short period of time when we were getting all of these referral calls for a waiver, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And I took one of those calls because I knew our referral person that day was getting backlogged. And somebody at the Department of Health told them they had to call the league for a referral, a waiver to get their shots. So I was able to reach out to Carrie right away, and we got that stopped. And I made about 4 phone calls back to folks who said, you don't need a waiver from us to get your shot. You just have to wait for your age category. Mm-hmm. Our folks, I thought, were supposed to be in the current group right now, which is 1B. But and Gerald, if I'm wrong, you can correct me, but from what I understood on Friday, the governor has kind of nixed those people out of 1B. They're focusing on educators, which are getting their shots this week. And it's really looking like you just kind of got to wait till your age category comes up. And the website and what we're doing here personally, and mostly, well, I think we would do it anyway, but our waiver wants to know when our folks are being vaccinated. So we have spreadsheets, but our service coordinators are touching base monthly with our consumers and with the information on the website, how to get signed up. If you can't get signed up through the website, then we give them the phone number, and we're tracking everybody that gets vaccinated or not, is what's happening with here. So we encourage people to go to the website, to call the 402-444-3400 number. And that's also works for Sarpy County. If you go to the Sarpy County's website, they give you this number to call as well. But it sounds to me like things are moving fairly well. And it sounds really positive to me that the number of vaccines that Douglas County is receiving, they're getting out in a timely manner. There's not a lot of vaccines that are sitting around. And, you know, if they're finding out that a clinic has more vaccines, they're calling people and getting them in from the list that they have. So I've really been pleased with the process.
Laura, this is Nancy. I just have a question. You know, we talked about some of the different housing, like high rises and, you know, like Walter Roberts Manor and different places. Do we know if any of them have received?
Not yet.
Okay.
They're still waiting to get that in the process. They're still working on those lists. That is a priority. They're going to be using, I believe it's the flu shot van from Methodist, but they haven't gotten there yet. And a lot of that's, I think they're going to make sure the teachers and the first responders gets their shots first. And then that's kind of the next thing on their list they're working on.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Gerald, I have a question. I was just down at the Fort Omaha campus of MCC and saw signs for COVID vaccinations. Did they set up a clinic there or for the North Omaha, or is that for something else?
I know they were trying to set up a clinic there, but to the best of my knowledge, the president, Randy Schmazel, I don't think he was too receptive. So, but Kerry might have been able to break through and get him to say yes. But the last I spoke with Kerry, it had not happened. So, I'm not saying that it has not since then.
That might be for educators, Megan, because they were working on getting teachers and educators vaccinated today. So that might have been something specific for them is what my guess is.
But they were, yeah, and Laura, you might be right. I think you are, but they still have not found a permanent site for North Omaha for the vaccine clinic.
Well, this is a great segue to you, Gerald, in terms of updates from your end.
Well, I appreciate your commentary, Laura, in regards to the vaccine rollout. My feedback is positive. I agree with everything Laura just said. And they might have been trying to clear it up, but they did state that, or Kerry did state that there was some vaccine left over from the clinics, and at first they didn't know what to do with it. I'm hoping that they figured out how to distribute that, because I was a little upset about 2 weeks ago that they would have people who they would have vaccine doses left over at the end of the day, and there were people waiting to get the vaccine who fell within, I don't know if they fell within the age category, but I know that they were caregivers to the individuals who were on the list to get the vaccine that day, and they were not able to get the vaccine. So if you were taking care of a person who was 80 and over, or disabled, no, I think disability was the only factor. If you had to be on a 80 waiver or a disabled waiver in order for your caregiver to get the vaccine as well. I didn't necessarily agree with that, just for the simple fact that just because you're 80 and you're relatively, healthy and you're not on any type of disability waiver, that you can't have a caregiver that needs to get the vaccine as well. So that was my only feedback, and the fact that they could find, it just seems the information seems to be a little vague whenever we speak about North Omaha. They're so adamant to speak on the different locations that they have the vaccine clinic at in South Omaha and West Omaha. But when it comes to North Omaha, it's always, oh, we haven't found one yet, and they just glance over it. But I feel like that's a very important area to be able to cover, because we know that individuals with who are on the lower end of the socioeconomic totem pole, I mean, that's where it's spread the fastest at, because they don't have they don't have the same, there's more barriers to keep themselves safe and healthy. I do know that there was an individual at the table who is not at the table, Kenny McMorris, who is the CEO of Charles Drew. He was not at the table and attending the meetings before Laura and I got there, and now he is on the committee, and he's attending meetings regularly, which I think is a big bonus, because he is the CEO of Charles Drew in East Omaha. I feel that he is the right person to be at the table to address some of the issues or some of the barriers that may be affecting individuals in Eastern Omaha that fall in the disability community or disabled community. So that is positive that he is now there. I just wish that they would make more of a concerted effort, or at least tell me the efforts that they're making to get a location solidified in North Omaha for the vaccine clinic. And I mean, I've offered to help, and I've given some information and some numbers to carry. So yeah, so that's my interpretation of what's going on. But I agree with Laura that they do have a great operation at the clinics with the golf cart and them coming to pick people up from their vehicle, take them inside, and bring them back out. I think that is an awesome amenity that they have. I just wish that could be replicated in all parts of the city.
A question then, Gerald, in your role with the city, is there something that you would recommend, or I would also take this from the other members of the commission or our visitors, is there an action that you would think would be helpful to try and resolve the issue of getting coverage in the northern part of the city, knowing that you know that persons of color have higher infection. We've seen the data on higher infection rates, and then also when we talk about individuals with disabilities of color, we're talking about really almost a comorbidity circumstance where these folks need to be vaccinated quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, they're at great risk.
So to address that, Mark, and I appreciate you asking, this is a county initiative. The vaccine rollout is put on through Douglas County Health Department. So my title doesn't really hold much weight in the room when we're talking about a county issue.
Sure. Well, we had Dr. Poor on back, it's been a year, when this first came on the scene, and we were trying to get answers, and she was exceptionally helpful and thoughtful, and we're very grateful that she was willing to take the time out of what at that point in time had to be an amazingly busy schedule to come talk to us. I'm just wondering if we need to reestablish that connection and express the concern, perhaps. Or, I mean, I'm not trying to put you in a position of making comments that would be untoward, but that's why I really want to open this up to the group in terms of if you have a feeling that we need to take some action to this direction.
The other issue that I'm also concerned about, and it also kind of got brushed under the carpet, but I think maybe with the person that Joe talked about that's now on the commission, is those that have English as a second language or not a language at all. And, you know, we serve a lot of those in our disability community.
Mm-hmm.
And in that community, what we're finding so far in our surveys is they're all declining the shot. And I think they're declining the shot because they don't trust it and they don't understand it. And how do we reach that population? And I did find out today that one of our providers is translating all the COVID information into Nepalese and some of those other languages that we're going to hopefully be able to give out also to our consumers that speak those languages, to help them not necessarily be afraid, because I think there's fear in the unknown. And I think we're seeing some of that. And especially of our consumers with disabilities, there's some fear of the unknown. So hopefully we're going to be working on that issue. I'm not going to let that drop per se as we have these meetings go forward, because it's important for those citizens to be vaccinated. It's not just enough to have everything in Spanish, not in Omaha, Nebraska.
Right.
And I run into that issue a lot.
Yeah, I work a lot within the Omaha Public School District, and it's the number of languages spoken there is somewhere like around 40 or 50. So, and that represents the city. I mean, that's, you know, OPS is the largest school district in the state. So that alone is a real eye opener on the English as a second language, or non-English speakers, as you say. So I'm still entertaining suggestions on action on the part of the commission to address some of these concerns that have come out. Because one of the things,
Mark,
go ahead, Laura.
One of the other things they talked about was, as they're signing people up for the shots, if they know they have a special need, they're going to try to put that in a note to address that. Mm-hmm. Because the commission or the groups are talking about sign language interpreters. There's probably also at some point going to be a need for them to have some other foreign language interpreters available for certain people. And so that question continues to be raised, and that discussion needs to continue to happen, which I plan on doing because, like I said, we serve a lot of those individuals.
Well, is it that part of the registration process then, is how they're trying to get that information through to the practitioners? Okay.
Yes. Or the clinic, whatever clinic they go to. Yes.
Well, on behalf of the commission, do you feel like it would make sense to contact Douglas County Health and see what, you know, if we can encourage some of these issues? I'm really, I don't want to speak on behalf of the group, or what do you think? I'm exceptionally happy to hear that they're looking at first responders and teachers as a priority category, but as we know, certain disabilities, especially those that involve immune deficiencies, really need to stay a high priority for, you know, timely vaccination. So.
And I don't think that decision not necessarily is Douglas County's, as the governor made some decisions
Right.
And I believe that the health departments have to follow some of his decisions. That's what I understood that happened on Friday night from the news. Now, and I do believe that Carrie said that on Tuesday of this week, they were going to go look at some place in North Omaha. So I don't know. Well, it's not Tuesday yet, so we don't know the outcome of that. But we'll continue to make sure that's a conversation piece, Mark.
Absolutely. Thank you. Questions for Laura or Gerald?
I wonder if it might be a good idea to encourage someone from Douglas County, or unless there's someone else who's some sort of official on the matter, to do like a video PSA. That way we can, just with some brief but crucial information, such as where to go to get vaccinated, how to register, and why this vaccine is safe and effective. Because as we mentioned, there's a lot of people who have that mistrust and are, declining it for that reason. So maybe if there was like a short video just explaining some briefly explaining some basic points. I know a lot of this information is available out there now, but not everyone is going to or able to go online and read that manually.
Like
I don't know if that's something that Laura could suggest at a meeting, or how else we would go about doing that, or if that's even a good idea. But I think it's discouraging to see people not get it just because they don't have the information that could prompt them to actually decide to get it.
Well, I was going back to my Facebook because I know that I like the Douglas County Health Department Facebook page, and they're constantly sending stuff out. But then there again, you got to know where to find them, and you got to like them to see that information. I honestly think that their website is really extremely user friendly if you have that. And my concern is not so much with English speaking, it's the non-English speaking consumers. And there's not a lot of, I can tell you, there's not a lot of translators in this community that would do that, and they want to have control over the message that they give. Unfortunately, they do. So I'm looking at some of those really good flyers that we can give out.
Something that we could share with community leaders.
Yeah.
Within their communities, to be able to share the message. Whether it's some of the Korean churches and different organizations.
I've asked to have PDF copies of that information when they're done. And when I get those, I will send it out to the group. If you're interested in seeing it, having it, to share it.
Yes and yes, I think would be the answer to that.
Yes, please.
Yes, please do send it out.
No, the fear I have is people that should be getting it that aren't getting it because they're not aware, or don't have the information. So that would include people that might have a fear of the vaccine because they're just not aware of, they're afraid, they have safety concerns when that might not be warranted. This has been a long year. We just hit 500,000 people in the country more in terms of mortality, which that's a lot. That's a lot. And as fast as we can move beyond this, especially for the folks that we represent, the happier that I'll be. I think it's just. And again, a lot of the work I do with families, for example, is with the idea that how do we set systems up so that people don't slip through and either are missed or or declining because they don't have good information. And actually, we've been talking about both, because if we don't have a North Omaha site, the chance of missing folks on the north side of town uh, is significant from my perspective. And if folks are turning down the vaccination because of fear, then how do we educate communities to, I mean, again, in the end, it's the person's choice, and I'm not, trying to push past that, but um, I think, there would probably be a number of folks that you were talking about, Laura, that if they had better information, might not be so reticent um, to getting the vaccine.
I just posted in the chat a really good little video um, from the Douglas County website, or from their Facebook page, and it's talking about COVID health.
Can you, I don't have access to that. Can you send that to me, Laura?
Yes, I will.
Thank you. Since I'm actually live, not Memorex here, so don't have access to the chat. I mean, I can see that you did that. I just can't. My memory is not that good. Like, oh, that's what it is. So thank you for that. We don't have to, other comments or thoughts in terms of actions you'd like to see the commission taking, or concerns, or I'm kind of leaving it to you guys. You know how I feel. And actually, I really appreciate the flyers. We do a lot of outreach, for example, into the South Omaha community and Spanish-speaking community, and so we'll push those out. Um, we have folks that are prominent members of that community that work at the Med Center, so that's one way I think of. And then I eat a lot of Karen food. I'm very, very partial to Karen restaurants, so yeah, it's a thought.
Well, as we're getting close to wrapping up, I would like to, and if anybody's listening, I would like everybody to encourage everybody to call 402 444 3400. And that will get you to the Douglas County health page, or to the helpline, and they can help you get signed up, get registered to eventually get your vaccine.
Cool, thank you. It sounds like we're at that point. Do other folks other members on the line have any announcements?
This is Nancy. I don't have anything this
Thanks,
month.
Nancy. Laura, you could go twice if you have another announcement, but Rachel, any announcements? Or
No, not announcements from me.
everybody, I think, is either zoomed out or tired of the weather. Megan, any updates?
No, nothing new for me.
Okay, I can't see everybody who's up, so. Well, with that, would it be the will of the group to go ahead and call it a day? There's no reason we need to go long, and I always like giving people 15 or 20 minutes of their day back. It makes me very popular with certain groups. Does that sound like a fair plan for today? And we know what we're doing next month. Next month, we're going to be talking with a representative of Public Works regarding accessibility. So if you are watching this, I would invite you to tune in, and if if you have concerns about that issue, you certainly can voice those at that time. So with that, I'll call us to an adjournment, an unofficial adjournment, and thank the commission members for participating today, and thank you to Gerald Kuhn for his presentation today.
And
Thanks, everybody. And if I get notification they have a North Omaha site, I'll let everybody know.
Appreciate that,
Okay.
Laura.
And Mark, thanks for being there in person.
Oh, you're welcome. I had that way I can wear my mask, you know, showing off the med center. Okay, thanks, guys.
Have a good week.
Okay. What? 3 to 3:30. That